الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumeen, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Could someone just turn down the sensitivity of the mic? Just go through it daily. Why not? All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who is Rahman and one who is Rahim. Yesterday we began our journey into the underworld, into the afterlife, and the stages that present themselves to a person from the moment that they view Malik al-Maut. And there are a number of things that unfold for that person, a number of realities that become apparent to that person from the moment that they view a Malik al-Maut. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لَقَدْ كُنْتُ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا وَكَشَفْنَا عَنْكَ غَطَائِكَ فَبَصُرُكَ الْيَوْمَ حَدِيدٌ. That these are the very things that you were inattentive of. This is that day where we will remove from your eyes the curtain so that you may now see clearly, see better than you've ever seen before, and see the realities of your existence. At this moment now an individual begins to see the malaika ascend and descend. He begins to see the other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala interacting with the rest of the world. But at that moment all he is concerned about is himself, because now we find him 6 foot under in the grave and with no one by his side. Let's go in there. Almost. It's like a hum underneath it. Inshallah I'll get adjusted. Started off fine, and then it got adjusted, and then it went like this. Maybe if I move it back a little bit. Let's try that. Okay, inshallah. So he finds himself 6 foot under, and now in the darkness of that grave, we left it at this point, that man begins to wail, he begins to cry, "Oh Allah, give me the opportunity to go back. Give me the opportunity to change my life. I don't want to walk upon this path. If I go back, I'll change. I promise I'll do things differently." All that he can do, all that he can plead, he begins to say it. From his side he hears someone call out by the side of him. He's please recite salawat. In that loneliness, he hears a voice. When he says that, "Oh Allah, now I will not do the bad that I did. Just send me back to the world and I'll be a better person," a voice comes from the side of him. "Kalla innaha kalimatun huwa qailuha وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. That know these words that they say, they're hollow, they're weak, he lies. For now there is a barzakh, there is a curtain between you and them, إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ, until the day that you shall be raised. Now this curtain exists. The barzakh is essentially, its exact translation is one of a curtain, but it is an in-between world. A world that is not fully physical, but a world that is not fully spiritual. It's in between the physical and the spiritual world. And tomorrow, inshallah, when we conclude, we'll look at some of the peculiarities of the barzakh and speak about the barzakh and the bodies that we will inhabit within the barzakh. I.e., are they physical? Are they spiritual? What are they? Are they the same ones, or are they more refined? Inshallah, in tomorrow's lecture, we'll look at that. So this individual turns around to see who it is in the darkness of his grave that has come forward in order to speak to him, and he finds an angel standing there. He says to him, "Who are you?" He says, "My name is Rumman." In some narrations he says, "My name is Munabbih." This angel's name was Hazrat Salman yesterday, that he calls the person from the grave, and now the person from the grave is explaining to him. So he says that in this darkness I see this angel. This angel now grabbed hold of me, he sat me up in my grave, and he said, "My role is to make you write your whole life of deeds." Says, "You will write your whole life's good and bad deeds." He says, I turned to him, I said, "Rumman, but I have no paper." He turned back towards me and he ripped part of my coffin and he handed it to me. He said, "This is your paper." I said to him, "But I have no finger, I have no pen." He said, "That your finger is your pen. Now write." He says, "But Rumman, I have no ink." He says, "Your saliva is your ink. Now write your whole life." He says that I turned to him, I said to him, 70 years of my life on the earth, 80 years of my life on the earth. He says, I can't remember everything that I did. I can't remember all the good and all the bad and all the small things. He says that the angel turned to me and he says that you have forgotten, but Allah never forgets. I will dictate to you, you write what I tell you to write. Says, I began writing all my life's good deeds, every single moment, every single thing that I ever did, all of it writing. I began writing it all. And then when that was finished, he said, now turn over this parchment and write on the back of it your life's bad deeds. And he says, I began writing and I began crying. Every single thought, every single movement of the eye, every single action, sins that I had forgotten about. He says, every time I became tired, every time I began to slack, Rumman will pull out a brandish towards me, a burning spear, the heat of which was so intense that had it fallen upon the earth, the people of the earth would have perished. He says to me that, will you write or shall I strike you with this? He says he forced me to write my whole life's deeds. My saliva finished. My finger began wearing away. I tried to rest, but every time I tried to rest, he would brandish it towards me. And I would begin to feel afraid and I would continue to write until I'd finished my whole life's deeds. Could you imagine writing down every single moment of your life, from the start of your life until the day that you died, every single good and every single bad that you have ever done? Rumman is that angel that will make every single person that enters into the qabr write his whole life's deeds. Those deeds that I thought that no one else saw, those sins that I thought I had successfully hidden from those around me, all of those will be made to be written down upon that parchment. Now after that parchment has been filled, he says, Rahman took a piece of rope, he tied it to either side of this piece of kafan, and he hung it around my neck. He says, when I began to look at this parchment, before Rahman held it, he said to me, sign it. He says, Rahman, I have no stamp to sign it. He says, your thumb is your stamp. Mark it with your nail that you have read and understood this. He says, when I read through it, I found myself saying, مَا لِهَذَا الْقِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرًا. That's what is this book? It hides nothing. It shows all the large and the small sins that I had done. All of it is present within it. He says, Rahman ties a bit of rope around it and he hangs it around my neck. He says, the weight of it was so heavy that I felt that my neck was breaking. By Allah, Salman, if they had placed that single parchment upon the mountains would have crumbled under the weight of that parchment. He says, I turned to Rahman. I said to him, Rahman, what is it that I've ever done to you? Why is it that you're so harsh with me? My neck is breaking under the weight of this single parchment. Will you not take it away from me? Rahman turns to him, he says, did you not read the Quran when you were in the world? That every man shall be raised from his grave, and around his neck he will carry his scroll of deeds and all his actions and all that which he did within the dunya. He says, now until the day of judgment, this shall hang around your neck and you shall feel the weight of your actions within the world. And then he says, await now, for Munkir and Nakir are to come. If the person is a believer, as Rahman leaves, he goes towards Munkar and Nakir and says, go easy with them. The person is a believer. But if the person is a sinner, when Rahman leaves that grave, he will turn to Munkar and Nakir and say, you have free reign to do what you want. Do as you please with him. This is that moment where nothing is hidden. Everything is apparent. There is no talking myself out of the situation. There is no thinking that I know how I'm going to get out of this. No, here my whole life is being written by my own hands. I can't deny it. It's like that moment where a person goes to a wedding and you see that, when people are sitting there and they're eating at a wedding and the camera comes towards them, they become very conscious of it. And then they start eating with tahzeeb and they start eating, nicely, and they wish they hadn't filled their plate so much now, because they were hungry when they came. And then sometimes you don't even realize the camera's on you and you're eating as you would normally, and then you turn to see it and you think, oh no, yeah, it was filming me the whole time. And then later when you go back and watch that video, the sense of embarrassment, the sense of horror, do I really eat in that manner? This is exactly how it will be in the Akhirah. That a person will see their whole life's actions and they will begin to regret it in the same way that I begin to regret when I watch back that wedding video of me sitting down and eating. When I'm inattentive, don't realize that someone's watching me, someone's filming me. My whole life is like that. My whole life, every moment is being filmed. Every moment is being scrutinized. Every thought is being understood. Every movement of the eye is being noted. Every movement of the hand is being recorded. There is not a footstep that I take that is not without Allah knowing about it. Now that Rahman leaves, enter into the grave Munkir and Nakir. Munkir and Nakir's description for the sinner, for the person that has sin within their life, for that individual that lived a life of sin within the world, says that when Munkar and Nakir will come in, their eyes are like lightning, their voices are like thunder. Tall, overarching individuals standing within this grave, scary, smoke emanating from their body. What the moment that they enter, they let out a scream so loud that the eardrums of the person within the grave burst. See, a 6-foot grave by 4 foot. You're outside in the monsoon season and the thunder is heard. See how it makes you jump, how sometimes it agitates you. Sometimes when it's exceptionally loud, but this is in the outside. There the voices of Munkar and Nakir are karra'ad, are like the thunder. In a 6-foot grave, 6 foot by 4 foot, where there's hardly enough air to breathe. Now when these two individuals enter the grave, he says, Salman, their voices were like thunder, their eyes like lightning, smoke was emanating from their body, they were tall and scary. They began, before addressing me, they let out a scream that burst my eardrums. Remember, it was a single scream that destroyed the people of Ad. It was a single scream from one of the angels of God that destroyed the whole nation. This is that same scream that will be heard, but here there is no death, there is no end to the punishment. Says, my eardrums burst, my ears began bleeding, and now they began looking towards me. I saw by their side they had maces of fire. The heat of them was so intense. The strength of the maces of fire will come to. Says that they began to ask me the questions. I became dumbfounded. I was so afraid of the appearance of Munkar and Nakir. I didn't know how to reply. They kept on asking me. I kept on becoming afraid. I began in the back of my mind begging Allah to help me, to allow me to answer their questions. I kept on turning towards Allah, begging Him, asking Him, in some way, shape or form, help me. Oh Allah, help me. Says, Allah opened for me the knot in my tongue. I began answering their questions. As I answered their questions, they became less and less scary, until I answered the last one, and they became like normal angels. They pushed open my grave, and it became a vast garden. As far as I could see, gardens and rivers. And they said to me, sleep. As the cool breeze from heaven entered my grave, they said, sleep, relax, for you have passed and await the day of judgment. But for those that cannot answer the questions of Munkar and Nakir, the actions of Munkar and Nakir are different. Their attitude is different. To be able to understand what happens we will first analyze the questions of Munkar and Nakir. The sixth Imam is asked, what of the questioning of the grave? The Imam says, Munkar and Nakir will ask 6 questions and 3. The companion says, so you mean 9? Imam says, no. He will ask 6 questions. They will ask 6 questions and 3. Says, Yabna Rasulullah, I don't understand. The Imam says that there will be 6 questions that will be asked. If they successfully answer the first 6, then they will be asked a further 3. And then there is one question that is asked to all of humanity at the end. So what are those questions of Munkar and Nakir? Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? Who is your Prophet? What is your religion? What was your book? What is your Qibla? Who is your Imam? Or who are your Imams? And if that person answers them correctly, they go on to the second round. In the second round, 3 questions. We gave you youth. What did you do with it? We gave you blessings. How did you utilize them? Third, we gave you wealth. Where did you spend it? And then the 4th and final question that will be asked of all is, and what of your love of Ahl al-Bayt? These questions are what will be asked in the grave. If they answer correctly, then there is that cool breeze coming into the grave. There is that raha, that ease of Jannah within the grave. There are beautiful gardens. There is relaxation. But if the person cannot answer, the voice will come, Kadhiba abdi, my servant lies. And then what unfolds? One cannot truly comprehend the severity of what happens. But before we look at that in detail, let's look at these questions of Munkar and Nakir. The first thing that they will ask, who is your Lord? And we say to the mayyit before we place it into the ground, when we recite the talqeen, that when Munkar and Nakir will ask you, who is your Lord? Say Allah. Say that Allah is your Lord. Allah is your Lord. But that is the realm where there is no lying. That is the realm where the actions shall form the answers that are given. The way a person lived their life in this world shall form the answers that they give in that world. Although here on my tongue I say Allah is my Lord, does my action reflect Allah as my Lord? I say in this world that when someone asks me, are you a Muslim, who do you believe in? I say yes, Allah. When Munkar and Nakir will ask me, I will try to say Allah, as Allah is my Lord. But yet, the life that I live in this world, where the time of salah comes and I delay it for the sake of work, I'm saying that Allah is my Lord, but my actions are showing something different. I delay my prayers so that I wait till I get to the tea break of the cricket match that I'm watching, because I don't want to miss a single over. And if that cricket match is happening somewhere else, I make sure that I'm up even before Fajr so that I can watch it from the moment they start the toss until the end of it. But on a normal day, I can't even wake up for the time of Fajr. And then I want to reply to them, Allah is my Lord. No, because my actions are showing that the stars of that cricket team are my Lord, that my work is my Lord, that my wealth is my Lord, that my children are my Lord's, and that my wife is my Lord, that my husband is my Lord, that I'm putting aside the rights and responsibilities of my Lord for the sake of another human being. At this moment in the grave, when Munkar and Nakir with voices of thunder will begin to ask that individual, Man Rabbuk, who is your Lord? How will we answer? How will we say? Some will become so afraid that they will say, you too are our lords, you are our lords, because their faith in this world was so weak that when they go into the Akhirah, they can't stand up for themselves. In this world they sold their religion. In this world they sold themselves. They would go after work to the pub to have an orange juice because it was what everyone else at work was doing. They were the individuals that wanted to go to their parties at work and would make their wives remove their hijab so that they wouldn't feel out of place. These are those individuals that in the grave, when Munkar and Nakir ask that who is your Lord, they will never ever be able to say Allah is their Lord. Because in this world they lived such lives that they sold their religion for wealth. What has happened to the ghira of men? What has happened to the ghairat of men? That for the sake of our work party, we make our women remove their hijab? Why then come and cry over Sayyida Zainab when I myself am the Yazidi force in my home? That husband that does not allow his wife to observe hijab for fear of what society shall say. Or then that husband that is satisfied upon his wife's lack of hijab. The Holy Prophet goes to Mi'raj and he begins to see certain punishments of the barzakh. Hazrat Jibreel begins to explain to him various things. One of the punishments of the barzakh is that there will be women that will be suspended by their feet, and their hair will be set on fire, their brains will boil from the intense heat of the fire of the Akhirah. It will burn away at their hair, their skulls, their skin shall melt and then regenerate, and again it will start. The Holy Prophet turns to Jibreel. Jibreel, who are these women? Ya Rasulullah, they claim to be from your ummah. Jibreel, what is their crime? These are the women that did not observe hijab in the dunya. These are the women that cared not to cover their hair and cover the shapes of their bodies in front of men. You see, the wajibat of your hijab are that up until the wrists they should be covered, up their feet covered. Not a single hair should be shown to a non-mahram man. This is hijab. No form of the body shown. This is hijab. Says these were women that did did not observe correct hijab in the dunya. Next to them, he saw men in boxes of fire that were being burnt from every angle. He turned to him, Jibreel, who are these men that are in boxes of fire? He says that these are the men from your ummah. Jibreel, what was their crime? These are the men whose wives, whose sisters, whose daughters did not observe hijab and they were happy about it. How will we answer in the grave? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered Munkar and Nakir to ask, Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? If our life in this dunya is lived creating for ourselves false gods, for whom we sell ourselves and our souls, be that in the form of work colleagues, be that in the form of society. So, oh no, but it's difficult, we can't do it, It's difficult to practice the faith here. It's difficult to find an all-Muslim chef place. There is an effect. When you go to a place and the meat is halal, but the chefs are not Muslim and not of Ahl Kitab, and they're handling your meat, there is a najasat that goes on your meat. You consume it. Fast forward to Karbala of our day, قَدْ مُلْيَتْ بُطُونَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. We will find ourselves on the army of the Sufyani fighting the Imam of our time, and he too will be saying, قَدْ مُلْيَتْ بُطُونَكُمْ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. Your stomachs are filled with haram, that's why you can't understand my words. Say, you can't do it, it's so difficult. Islam gives a very simple solution. Can't practice your faith, it's really difficult. Do hijrah, leave. Do hijrah, leave. Can't do amr bil ma'roof, can't do nahi anil munkar, too difficult, too weak, leave. Because everything will be questioned within the grave. That you had the ability to tackle the deviancy within your community, and you chose not to deal with it. You chose to ignore it. You chose to give rise and allow the deviancy and the disease to spread from generation to generation. You stayed quiet. You had the knowledge to tackle it. You had the you had the strength to oppose it. You had the numbers to curtail it. But you chose not to. Tell us, why is it that you chose not to defend the religion of God? When they will ask, Man Rabbuk? And we look at our lives, will I be able to answer Allah? In her khutbah Fadakiyya, Hazrat Zahra Salamullah alayha says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah kalimatun ja'al al-ikhlas ta'wilaha. Says, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, a statement whose true interpretation is only understood through action. When your every aspect of your life says La ilaha illallah, that is true La ilaha illallah. When you wake up in the morning and you wake up with the intention of La ilaha illallah, there is no Lord worthy of worship but Allah. When I go to work with the intention of La ilaha illallah, when I interact with others with the intention of La ilaha illallah, that is the true interpretation of La ilaha illallah. Before that, it is just a taste on the tongue. Before that, it is just the movement of the tongue. An-nas abidud dunya wa din la'ikun ala alsinatihim. Sayyid al-Shuhada in Karbala, he says, mankind is a slave of the dunya, And the religion is but a taste on their tongue. When it suits them, when it works for them, then it's fine, they keep it. But when they وَإِذَا مُحِسُّ لِلْبَلَاءِ, when they are tested with difficulties and trials, when they're made to go against or go outside of their comfort zone and challenge themselves, قَلَّا دَيَّانُونَ, very few of them are religious. Says otherwise, the religion is but a taste on their tongue. It suits them. I like this part. I like this tawalla part. I like this love of Ahlul Bayt part. Yeah? But I don't like this namaz part. قَلَّا دَيَّانُونَ. I like this tabarra part. But I don't like this tawalla part. I like this tabarra part, but I don't understand it. When I come to its true understanding, there's no pleasure in it now. Tawarra, its root comes from bara'a, to seek distance from. Tabarra is not to swear, it's not to curse. Tabarra is to seek distance. Someone didn't even exist for me. They are so lowly in my eyes that I don't even want to bring their name to my tongue. Tabarra is a dua. Allahumma la'an fulan. Oh Allah, you remove your mercy from this individual. It's not cursing. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Malik al-Ashtar and Hujr ibn Adi, says, which Malik? That Malik that Ali said, if Malik was a mountain, he'd be the highest of mountains. None would be able to scale the peak of Malik. Which Hujr? That Hujr ibn Adi, that if you go for the ziyarah of Sayyidah Zainab and do not go for the ziyarah of Hujr ibn Adi, your ziyarah of Sayyidah Zainab is not accepted. That Hujr ibn Adi. In the battle of Siffin, they make it to the army of Muawiyah, they hear someone swear at Amirul Mu'mineen. Someone swear at Ali. They hear it. They swear back at Muawiyah. When they return, Amirul Mu'mineen says to them, it has come to my knowledge that during the heat of the battle, you swore at some of my enemies. Listen to this very carefully. Sab is swearing, cursing. Says, I came to my knowledge that you swore at some of my enemies. Ali is saying, no one else is saying this. Amirul Mu'mineen is saying, I found out that you swore at my enemies. Says, if I ever hear that you have sworn at anyone again, then seek distance from me. Do not be by my side. They say sabbabu. Says, don't be from amongst those that give sab. They say there was a companion of the fourth Imam that was by his side all the time. He's walking with they say he was the shadow of the Imam. Walking alongside the Imam, he calls his slave. His slave doesn't listen. He turns around to him and says, Ibn Fa'ila, oh the son of a woman of ill repute. Imam al-Sajjad stops, turns to him, says, what did you say? Says, I said this. Imam says, to whom did you say it? Says, Imam, I said it to my Jewish slave. Imam says, were not his parents married according to their religion? Says, they were. Says, so why did you swear at him in such a way? Until I'm alive, never come near me again. One swear word. His whole life spent with the Imam. And us, we think it to be ibadat. Nay, this is part of tabarra. This religion that we follow, is it a taste on our tongue? When it suits us, great, that's it. Swear at him, swear at him, swear at everyone. Mu'min, non-mu'min, everyone swear at them all. And then we still hope to be embraced by the Imam of our time? Do I even have that connection with my Imam? Do I realize that do I feel the presence of Allah in my life? Every action that I do I weigh it up? Will Allah be happy or not? If I don't, then it will be very difficult for me to answer the first question of Munkar and Nakir. And there are 8 more to come. The second question of Munkar and Nakir: what is your religion? And we place the body in the grave and we tell them that say that Islam is your religion. But how is it that we could answer that question when we try and make the religion fit around our lives? We say we like this portion of the religion, but it doesn't keep in line with my life. It doesn't suit me. I know that a beard is good, but everyone else here says that a beard is bad. It's a sign of a bad person. Or a youth starts growing a beard and everyone starts turning to them. What is this that you're doing to yourself? Whereas I claim to be the Shia of Amirul Mu'mineen, and Ali says Al-Muhasinu Zinatul Rajul, that the beard is the beautification of a man, and still my life is on the polar opposite of Ali. Right? How is it? How is it that I can live a life like this? This religion that has come down, this religion that I pick and choose what I want from it and leave from it what I do not like. When I'm asked in the grave, what is your religion? What will I answer? It should have been Islam, but I incorporated about 70% of polytheism into it. I incorporated 70% of some Christianity and some Hinduism into it as well, and I claimed that that was my religion. They're going to ask you about that pure religion. What was your religion? Yes, it suited me if it fell on a weekend because I didn't have to work. But during the week, it's a bit difficult, huh? Doesn't suit my schedule. What is your religion? What is it that you did in this world to go and seek knowledge of the religion? Everyone will be answerable. We don't know how to answer the deviants. Obviously, because you haven't gone out and sought that religious knowledge, and knowledge that is incumbent upon every human being. It is incumbent upon every single one. When we get pulled into the grave, they're not going to say to us that, oh, okay, I know you were busy with your university education, so you didn't know how to do the ghusl of janaba. Or that you were doing your wudu like this still. Just makes your wudu batil. Pour water and then wudu is batil. You see people doing it all the time. And then they're going to try and pray. We don't have the basics of the religion. And we want to enter that grave and say, Islam was our religion. Our actions show nothing. Seek out people and learn from them the true religion. Because the enemies are infiltrating us day in and day out. And they are corrupting this religion faster than we can learn it. And every single person will be answerable on Yawm al-Qiyamah, within the grave, on the plains of Mahshar, as to you had the opportunity. Why didn't you go to help? Why didn't you go and seek knowledge? There are classes here in Bangalore. Go to recite and learn how to recite Quran properly. Just one letter can change everything. One letter can turn the meaning of something all upside down. This salawat that you recite should be recited, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Salli with a sad. We as Indians and Pakistanis, salli with the sin. When you say Allahumma salli, the meaning changes. When you say Allahumma salli ala with a sad, it means, oh Allah, send your blessings upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. When you say Allahumma salli with a sin, it says, oh Allah, remove Muhammad and Ali Muhammad from your blessings. Oh Allah, in other interpretations, oh Allah, kill Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. One sin and one sad. And this is, we do this all the time. Surah Al-Tawheed, Surah Qul Huwa Allah, Allahu Samad with a sad. Allah Samad is one of the characteristics of Allah. We get lazy, we say Samad with the sin. Samad with the sin means manure, fertilizer, an animal's feces. Am I explaining this? People understand what I mean? I mean poo. An animal's waste. This is samad. And we're saying in Surah Fatih, Allah, Surah Tawheed, Allahu. Because we're not pronouncing the sad properly. And it's not impossible to do. You come to Dua Imam Zamana. We say, Allahumma ajjil waliyyaka al-faraj. Ajjil means hasten the reappearance. Make the Imam come quickly. We don't pronounce the ayn. Say Allahumma ajjil with the alif. Ajjil with the alif means slow down. Total opposite. There are classes that happen here in Bangalore with Quran that will teach you how to recite the Arabic properly. So at the very least our salah is correct. Our salawat is correct. Our Surah Fatiha is correct. And then that's a base. Then go learn the aqaid. Tawheed, Adl, Nabuwat, Imamat, Qiyamat, because this is what is being attacked by our very own people. That the deviancies, they wear the guise, they wear the clothing of those that may resemble followers of Ahl al-Bayt. But as Surah Munafiqun says, their words will please you. Their appearances will appease you. كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدًا. They are nothing but pieces of dry wood covered in cloth. There is no essence there. So you see people pushing this pseudo-Islam, this cultural version of Islam, this Islam that says it's fine to take drugs, or this Islam that says it's fine just as long as you say Ya Ali. No, it is not. Alongside saying Ya Ali, it requires ubudiyya, because this is what Ali taught us. So when we go into that grave and they ask us, what is your religion? How will we answer? And then they ask that, what is your book? how will we answer? We tell the mayyit to say Quran, but I open more books of fiction than I open the Quran in my life. I don't know the tafsir, I don't know the stories, or the book that is more common for me is Facebook. That I open more than I open the Quran itself. And that's a real sad situation to be in. That my life revolves around other books, not the book of Allah. And the Holy Prophet, the Quran says, the Holy Prophet will stand on Yawm al-Qiyamah and complain, oh Allah, this ummah of mine left the Quran. Forget being able to recite it. The Quran for us now is the book of the dead. Is the book of the dead. And we only recite, or then we either hang it in our rear view mirror of our cars for barakah, you know. Or we keep it in our phones. Did you read it? No, it's just for barakah, for protection. Baba, it won't protect you if it's there. When you read it, it will protect you. When you recite it, it will protect you. Just by hanging it in the rear view mirror doesn't stop car accidents from happening. Read it. Just hanging it around your child's neck in the form of a taweez won't stop it from getting nazar or break magic. Read it and it will break the magic. And your Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen in the Nahj al-Balagha, when he gives the khutbah about the Quran, 57 virtues Ali lists of the Quran. He says, وَالدَّوَاءٌ لَيْسَ بَعْدَ الدَّاءِ. This is that shifa, this is that medicine after which there is no illness. How can I be the follower of Ali and not recite Quran? How can I be the follower of Ali and not know how to recite the Quran? How can I be the follower of Ali and have forgotten how to recite the Quran? No matter what my age is, there is no shame in going back and learning how to read. And now you don't even have to go to anyone. Everything's on YouTube. You can watch it from the start, learn how to recite the Quran with sawt and lahan, as well with the correct pronunciation, with the correct tunes, the various maqamat. It's all there on YouTube. What is our connection with the Quran? One of the things that will come in the grave to help a person is his qira'at al-Quran, is his recitation of the Quran. If I don't recite it, it's a dark place to be. The rest of the questions, inshallah, tomorrow. We have to ask ourselves, analyze our lives. On what path are we walking? Where are we headed? Now, when I analyze my own life and look at the actions that I do on a day-to-day basis, when I look at the way that I interact with Allah, I interact with fellow human beings, I need to ask myself, that is this what my Imam wanted from me? Is this what Allah wanted from me? Or is this what my nafs wants from me? And I've just dressed it up in the guise of Islam. Because that day, those times of death, that questioning in the grave, it will be so intense. And we need to prepare for that. We need to prepare for it. Those that came to Karbala were all prepared for that death. They were all prepared for that death. Each and every one of them. From the youngest to the eldest. All of them ready to face that reality. If tomorrow my Imam turned up, would I be willing to face that reality? Be willing to leave everything that I hold dear? be willing to put aside my own selfish desires and follow exactly word for word what my Imam wanted from me. It's difficult. Sometimes we won't understand the actions of the Imam. Now we're saying, sometimes we hear things from the A'immah and we've never heard it before, and now we want to curse out people because we've never heard it. People have done this before, by the way. These are the ayyam of the shahadat of Imam al-Hasan. These are the days, the nights before the shahadat. 28th of Safar, one of the riwayat, is for the shahadat of Imam al-Hasan. Imam al-Hasan is that madhloom Imam that even in his lifetime, his Shi'as would go to him and say, Assalamu alayka ya mudhill al-mu'mineen. Oh, the one that has made the mu'mineen zaleel. His Shi'as would say it to him. Why did you sign the peace treaty with Muawiyah? Because they didn't have the ma'rifah of the Imam, the understanding of the Imam. And now I look around at our own lives and I can see us saying the very same things to our Imam, because we don't understand them, we don't have ma'rifah of the Imam, we don't have an understanding of the Imam. They would say to him, Ya mudhill al-mu'mineen, the one that made the mu'mineen zaleel. History has shown us, even those by the side of their Imam, they don't gain ma'rifah. Those that are married to the Imam, it's not essential that they should be guided, as is in the case of Imam al-Hasan. When his wife Ju'da gives him that poison begins to course through the body of Imam al-Hasan. And there are a number of things that happen. We don't have time to go into all of those. Just a few moments of the musibah of Imam al-Hasan. As that poison coursed through his body, Imam al-Hasan gathered his near ones, his family members. And everyone sat around weeping, and they say that at one point that began to affect the organs of the Imam. The Imam began vomiting and parts of flesh began coming out of the mouth of the Imam. Zainab sits next to her brother, catching all those parts as the Imam continues to vomit, and as that poison courses through his body. Everyone sits around the Imam and weeps. Imam holds on to everyone. He takes their condolences, and then Abi Abdullah comes inside the room, and Abu Abdullah sits next to Imam al-Hasan, and Imam al-Hussein begins crying loudly. And now at this point Imam al-Hasan opens his eyes. He says, Hussein, let everyone else cry, but you don't cry, because your day, there is no day like your day, O Abu Abdullah. Hussein, your day is different to everyone else. It's as if Imam al-Hasan is saying to his brother that, Hussein, yes, today I am leaving this world, but Hussein, at least around me are my family members, are my brothers. Hussein, there will come a day when you will be leaving this world. There will be no Abbas by your side. There will be no Akbar by your side. Hussein, you will be alone in this world. Hussein, there will only be your sister standing until Zainabiyya crying, Wa Muhammada, Wa Aliya. It is as if the Imam is saying, Hussein, you cry over my poisoning, but I see that time on Asr when Shimr will fire that three-headed poisoned arrow into your chest. Hussein, don't cry, because your day is not like any other day. Hussein, Hussein, today my son Qasim is by my side. Hussein, I see my son Abdullah by my side, and I am leaving the world before them. But Hussein, for you in Karbala will be the body of Ali Akbar, and you will be lifting his body. Hussein, for you will be the body of Al-Abbas. There will be no one by your side. It's as if the Imam is saying, Hussein, yes, my body will be given ghusl, will be given kafan. Hussein, even though they will fire arrows into my body. Hussein, even though my body will be given ghusl again, will be given kafan again. Hussein, your body will be peppered with arrows, but there will be no one to give you ghusl. There will be no one to give you kafan. Instead, there will be vultures that surround you, stealing from your body. Those vultures of the army of Yazid, stealing from your body your very clothing, your armor, your ring and everything. Imam al-Hassan turns to his brother, Hussein, you don't cry, because even though I shall be buried under the earth, your body shall lie upon the plains of Karbala. Your body will be trampled by the hooves of the horses, Hussein. Hussein, you don't cry. Imam al-Hassan's body leaves this world. His soul departs from this world. He's buried by his brother, buried by the loved ones that surround him. And there are many musibahs, as I said, of the death of Imam al-Hassan that one can recite. But an alim narrates that after I had recited the musibah of Imam al-Hassan, Imam al-Hassan came in my dream. He said to me, "Oh alim, why did you not recite my greatest musibah?" He said, "Imam, what is your greatest musibah?" "Imam, I recited that the people began to boycott you." He says, "No, you did not recite my greatest musibah." He says, "Imam, I recited that they poisoned you, that parts of your inner sides began to come out as you vomited." "Imam, I recite," he says, "No, this is not my greatest musibah." He says, "Imam, I recited that your body was shot with arrows after it had been given ghusl and kafan. You are the only person to be given ghusl twice, kafan twice." "Imam, I recited that they did not allow you to be buried next to Rasulullah." "Imam, I recited that they oppressed you." Imam says, "No, this isn't my greatest musibah." He says, "Yabna Rasulillah, what is your greatest musibah?" He says, "Whenever you recite my shahadat, recite this to the people, that my greatest musibah was in Medina after my grandfather had just died, and the Muslims came to the door of my mother Zahra. They set fire to the door. My mother pleaded with them from behind the door. They kicked open the door. My mother Zahra was crushed between the wall and the door. They came in, they tied ropes around the neck of my father Ali. My mother Zahra stood in the way again in order to stop them from taking Amir al-Mu'mineen, and that Mal'oon turns to his slave. He says, "What are you waiting for? Move Zahra from the way." He steps forward, he slaps Zahra. Zahra falls. He begins to beat the body of Sayyida with the cover of his sword. He says, "That is my greatest musibah." ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.